and I was so scared and nervous.
And the feelings were just too overwhelming to deal with.
I was really scared.
Very much alone, very scared.
You know, I was in college, I was young, I was scared to death.
I was 19 years old.
I was 16 years old at the time. I had just turned 16 when the test came back.
I'm pregnant at the age of 26.
I found out I was pregnant.
I didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do.
I was 18 when I found out I was pregnant. I felt completely overwhelmed, embarrassed, and confused. But more than anything, I just felt really scared. You know, suddenly the life that I had that led up to that point, the dreams that I had for my future, it all came to a halt. And I was at a T in the road, facing the biggest decision I would ever face in my life. Which way to go from here? I'm Jennifer Coker. No matter how you got to this point, you face the same decisions now that many of us have had to face. That is why I and several other women wanted to be a part of making this video. We wanted to have a chance to share things we learned from our experiences so that you can be informed, as many of us were not. We want you to know that you're not alone. We've all come to this place and made different choices. We hope that hearing our experiences will help you as you make your choice.
And I felt overwhelmed because it was my decision. I'm like, I need to fix this. I need to hide it.
Fear. It will ask you to do things you would never do otherwise.
When you're in that position and you're scared, you're not really thinking clearly. And I remember the whole time that my head was just in a cloud. I had no idea who I was. I didn't know what I was doing.
I was scared what the people say, what my church say, what my friends say, what my dad, my family say.
It was an abusive relationship, and I felt like I was trapped, and I felt like I didn't have any way out.
It's too hard to be single mom for my 3 kids.
You have 3 choices: abortion, adoption, or parenting.
And I felt like at the time I didn't have any other options, and I felt hopeless. I felt like I didn't have any answers. So a friend told me that she had had an abortion.
And I was pregnant again. The baby's daddy did not want another child. He just didn't want a baby.
Gave me a name of a friend, an adult, said she was going to help me, and she ended up giving me the name to Planned Parenthood.
And my husband decided that it wasn't a good idea to have another child. That he had just graduated from college, and he's an electrical engineer, and I was a nursing assistant. He said that it was either him or the baby.
And then he added, but if you decide to have the baby, then our parents will stop help us financially to continue college.
They told me at the abortion clinics that it would be an easy answer, and that it was quick, painless. I could go in and then just go out and life would be like it was before. But that was not the case at all. It never ended after that. You know, it wasn't a quick, easy procedure that only took 5 to 20 minutes. It was a procedure that lasted the rest of my life.
I wanted to know what my baby looked like at 6 to 8 weeks. And they said that it was just a blob of tissue.
And they told us that that's all it was. It was just blobs of tissue. It was not life. So I was like 10th and 11th week. They didn't tell me that it had a heartbeat, that it had brain waves. Didn't tell me that my child had fingerprints and toes, and possibly could even suck its thumb at that point in time.
When I found out the truth about fetal development, that at 3 weeks there was a beating heart, that by 8, 9 weeks, all the vital organs were there. When I found out that there was little arms and legs and fingers and toes on these little children, I was devastated. It's like, oh my God, these were my children. And it's so unnatural for a woman to take the lives of her own children.
And I remember going to ultrasound school in North Carolina, and I saw for the first time a 9-week baby that was jumping and moving with fingers and toes. And I said to my instructor, I said, "That's a baby." He goes, "Yes." I go, "But they told me it was a blob of tissue." I was surprised to find out that the medical professionals were telling me to turn the monitors away from women considering abortion. Seeing the moving image might influence their choice. And I said, "Why?" I said, "They have a right to make an informed choice."
And then they performed an ultrasound. And they put a blanket between my face and the monitor. I wish I could have seen my baby. I was like 5 or 6 weeks pregnant, but nobody told me anything.
They never told me the risks to the procedure, that I possibly could get an infection, that they could perforate my uterine wall, that I could be infertile. In fact, they told me it was safer to abort than it would be to carry that child. I remember them specifically saying that.
With most abortionists, they are abortionists that a woman only sees that time in her life. It's not like going to your family doctor that you know and you've developed a relationship with.
I remember sitting in the exam room, freezing cold exam room, and everything inside of me said to run. I was awake during the procedure, so I remember everything. I heard everything. I could feel everything. I just couldn't move.
And I just heard a horrible noise, like a vacuum noise.
As they were vacuuming, I felt everything, and I felt the scraping.
To be on a table and have a machine inside of you and a doctor to begin to literally pound and beat that child to death inside of you, to rip it apart with a vacuum.
And seeing that jar sitting there and seeing the hunks of a baby put in it.
But it was very painful. That alone makes me not want to have another abortion. I wouldn't even think of having another abortion.
I lay down on that table and I got up a different person.
Right after I woke up, I knew something was terribly wrong. I felt a tremendous emptiness and a loss.
And still I was trying to fill up this emptiness that I had inside of me.
But nothing works. Nothing works. The hole never goes away. When the grandchildren came, it was even worse because now I had babies to hold. And it was very difficult.
And so everywhere I went and I saw babies and pregnant women, I felt so sad. And the worst part was that I could not share that with anybody.
And I immediately started to remove all of those promises that I had made, that I would never smoke, drink, use drugs, do all of the wild partying. And one by one, I started to use drugs, alcohol, bulimia, all of these things to try and stuff the pain in my life.
I started drinking. I am an alcoholic, as I always will be. I never touched a beer or nothing before that.
I turned 40 and I began to use drugs. Hadn't ever done any type of drug in my life. I'd only been a mother, a wife, and I worked.
I thought I could run from everything, but I couldn't. And I just kept drinking and kept doing drugs and became promiscuous because I thought if I hated myself so much, the only way somebody was going to love me was if I gave them something in return.
I mean, drug use and sexual promiscuity and just, I mean, it was like a downward spiral. It really was. I went from just a good student. I had everything, you know, and then it just went from downward, 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 and now, I mean, I'm in prison. It's my second time in prison. You know, I would feel guilty about what I did. I would start thinking about my baby. You know, it kind of hit me, that was a baby.
And then I can remember laying on that table and wondering, what have I done? And I never thought that when I was a little girl that I would ever do this. Because that was not the type of person that I wanted to be.
And, you know, wake up one day and you're in your mid-20s and you were like, is this my life? I know that I was meant for something completely different.
After the abortion, when I sat up and I just realized what I did, and I asked the nurse said, go ahead and come down, and I was like, hold on, wait a minute. And then I kind of laughed and I said, well, what's it gonna matter? It's not gonna it's not gonna take back what I just did. And she was wiping up blood from the floor. And that was sad. Because, you know, you dream that later on and see it, the blood splatter.
I would just lay in bed and cry, and I had suicidal thoughts. I wanted to end it all. I didn't want to be here anymore if I couldn't have that baby back.
I got some prescription medication, and I took as much of it as I could ingest. And somebody came around and found me, and I'm here still, but no one tells you that you'll want to kill yourself after you do an abortion. And you won't, and I never thought I would be the type of person that would try and kill myself after an abortion. I thought that I could handle it, or that I could deal with it. It's just something that you do, and it's over and it's done. But it's not that simple. It starts off as just something, a fix-all, but it turns out to be a nightmare out of hell. I wish I had never done it. I wish someone had showed me a film of what was going to happen during the actual procedure. I wish I had talked with somebody that had had an abortion that could tell me what the side effects were, that I would not like myself anymore, that I would start to medicate myself, that I would resent the person that I had it for, that I would resent me, that I wasn't worth living anymore, and that I would hate myself. Everything I stood for, I hated. I didn't even have the same values, whatever. And the more drugs I did, the more I wanted to do. Having had that abortion turned me into a crackhead whore, and no one told me that that would happen.
And the doctor, when she finished, asked me if I had had abortions. I hadn't told her to begin with, and I said I had. And she said, what we found is that one of your tubes is 90% blocked, the other one is 100% blocked, and you will never have children because of those abortions. What that suction from that machine did was literally pull your tubes down flush with your uterus, and they are blocked.
And at 30 years old, I was told that I couldn't have a baby. We wanted to have more children, but because my uterus and my cervix were so damaged from those abortions, they could not believe that I had him. All I wanted to be was a mommy. And because of what I did when I was 16 and 18, that I can't be a mommy.
And it was very traumatic having to come to the realization that the only 3 children that I would ever bear, I killed.
There's 28 studies linking breast cancer to induced abortion. I've already had 2 lumps removed from my left breast.
I had problems with my cervix, and I had to have medical procedures, very painful procedures. Had brought problems with my breast. And so that was a threat of breast cancer and cervical cancer.
The first pregnancy that I had was the result of a date rape when I was 14. And I made a decision to place that child. And I know in my heart today that my daughter has been able to fulfill her purpose. Her life was not in vain.
My mother had a baby out of wedlock, and she put my brother up for adoption, and we have an amazing relationship with him now. He's so grateful that my mom chose to keep him and give him up, and you know, we're in his life and in his future, and we're going to be able to see him have kids and get married, and it's different psychologically, but it's definitely a better choice than to wonder for the rest of your life how it was supposed to be.
Well, now I know that I could have given my baby for adoption if I wanted to continue college. And when I thought, how can anyone give their baby to someone else to take care of, you know? And then, you know what, comparing to the abortion, at least my baby would have been alive. I would have given my baby a gift, the gift of life. And not to only my baby, but to a couple that maybe were wishing to have a baby.
I wish my story was the single mom story or the adoptive, the birth mom. I wish that I had seen adoption the way that I see adoption now. And you would give anything to have a little picture to show somebody, this is my child, this is their life, this is what it meant.
And it was difficult, but I never ever regretted my decision to keep her. But I would have missed so much joy and happiness.
I'm really looking forward to what's in my future, and these last 2 summers I've been able to go on mission trips to Ukraine and to visit orphanages and minister to children there, and I just enjoy that so much.
My family would not be the family that it is today if I had not had Katie. I've always said, gosh, I wish I were more like Katie, because Katie is just, I just can't imagine life without Katie.
Well, my mom was in college and my dad had just gotten his first job, and they met back in 1971, and it wasn't very much later that they got together and conceived me, and they weren't married yet. But thankfully they chose to have me, and then they got married, and money was tight. Mom was still finishing up school, and I had a wonderful childhood because they gave me love. And I really believe that's all a kid needs, is unconditional love. And so I got involved in sports, and finally when I was going into high school, I chose swimming. And I had much success in that, and then I got a scholarship to go to college. And then after college, I got to go to the Olympic Games, really the peak that an athlete can experience. And it was there in Atlanta, 1996, that I won 3 gold medals. And so I'm so grateful that my mom and dad didn't listen to the pressures and concerns of the time, but that they chose to have me. And now I have a family of my own. My wife and I, we have 5 wonderful children, and my mom and dad are thoroughly enjoying being grandparents.
I decided to have my baby when I realize I will worst in my mind, if in my heart, if I don't have it. And I know sometimes I don't have money to do some things, I don't have money to do that, but I prefer to don't have money to do that than I don't have my baby. And now my 3 kids love him. And I love him, my mom, my dad, they love him. And I'm really happy. Sometimes I think, what if I don't have my baby now? And I don't want to imagine.
Your future is not decided by the situation you find yourself in right now. It's decided by what you choose to make of it. The choice is yours. If you found yourself at this crossroads, there's a pregnancy care center in your area. They are there to help you think through the possibilities, to help you see your possibilities. We asked these women what advice they would give if their own daughter or friend were going out the door to have an abortion.
I've got a daughter that's 20 years old. I'm not with her, and I don't know what's going on right now. And I pray that she never ever has to make a decision to have an abortion, because it will destroy her. At one point in her life, she'll be destroyed. If not the beginning of it, certainly down the road.
I would tell her that the worst has happened already. And being pregnant, yes, it's overwhelming right now. But by going to have an abortion, it's adding to the problem. It's not a solution.
Everyone says it's the most, empowering decision, and we're taking a woman's right away, but I can say it's the opposite. It's probably the most violating thing you could ever go through.
Don't give up on the baby. It could be the next Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King or any of the people that we happen to admire. And I just remind her of that.
You can have a baby. Sometimes you think you cannot have it. You cannot hold the baby, but you can. Just have your baby. Have it, because it's worse if you don't.
There is hope and there is a future, but it's different. And instead of plan A, you're going to plan B.
There's help, there's hope. We're here to support, not to condemn.
And I think just reminding her that, she's a mom right now with that tiny little baby inside, and you don't undo the fact that you're a mom. It just leaves a lasting impression on your heart, and that child will forever be a part of your life.
Side effects are forever.
There's nothing that erases. There's nothing no pill that you can pop.
Whatever they are forever.